Have you ever wondered how much home you can actually afford as an active duty military member here in San Antonio, Texas? Whether you're E5, E6, E7, or above, your BAH and base pay play a huge role in your purchasing power. But how much home can you actually afford off your BAH? Well, today we're breaking it all down, and I've got a very special guest with me, Hector Campirano, one of my favorite lending partners, to help us understand exactly what lenders are looking for and how different home prices can affect your BAH and how much home you can actually afford. Let's go. Before we get started, guys, my name is Jonathan Welch, and here on this channel, we talk about everything that you want to know about living in San Antonio and relocating to San Antonio. So that number popping up on the screen is how you get a hold of me. I am a licensed real estate agent here in San Antonio, and I would love to assist you and your family making a smooth move here. All right, man, thanks for joining us today, Hector.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a while since we talked, but I wanted to have you on today because you are a mortgage broker, correct?
Yes, correct.
And, you know, we deal with a lot of active duty members who are moving here to San Antonio.
Yes.
And they all want to know, hey, what can I afford using my BAH here in San Antonio? So if you are relocating to San Antonio, you're active duty, you've probably already looked at BAH here in the area, but I'm gonna read it off to you just real quick so you have an understanding of what BAH is and what the median home cost is here in San Antonio. Right now, as it stands, as an E5, BAH is $1935 with dependents, $1530 without. If you're E6, $2154 with dependents. And if you're E7, $2172 with dependents. Now, of course, you've got E8 and above officers, warrant officers, and things like that.
Yes.
Their BAH is going to be a little bit different, and we can get into all of that. If you want to give us a call, we can run those numbers for you. But right now, we talk to a lot of E5, E6s, E7s, right?
Yes.
Who are wanting to purchase a home. Right now in San Antonio, median home cost is right at $295 and a half. Okay, $295 and a half. What does that mean for an E5, E6, E7 who are looking to purchase? Say we find something at $295. Is that something that they can even afford, or are they gonna have to look at maybe some additional funds, you know, in addition to their BH? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first question you asked, can they afford it? The answer simply is yes. You can afford that. And of course there are some things to consider, you know, your credit and how an underwriter is going to look at it. But for the most part, for this video, what we want to figure out is what you can potentially qualify for, you know, when you start the home buying process. And just using your BAH, an E5 would qualify for about $225K, just your BAH. An E6 about $250,000, and an E7 $260,000. This is just your allowance for housing. This is not including your actual pay. So if you want to figure out what you can qualify for above that $260,000 price point, reaching out to us, we can figure out and calculate that exact number for you.
Now, when it comes to the mortgage itself, of course, that is something we are going to have to run numbers on because there's a lot of different factors that go into your actual mortgage payment. One of the things that we learned over the last month, we had some active duty members who are relocating here. They qualified, they were pre-approved for quite a bit, right? They're both married couple, both active duty. But as we started looking at homes around the area, we started to see that big monster in the room, which is property taxes. They change depending on the area of town that you live in. We could see them as high as $18,000 in some neighborhoods, and we could see them as low as about $5,000 in other neighborhoods. And as we started looking at almost the identical homes in different areas of town, we ran the numbers, and those mortgages, the mortgage payment changed dramatically.
Yeah.
Right? So that is something we have to consider.
Yeah. Tax rates in Texas are one of the highest in the nation, unfortunately. So you definitely want to be just cautious, you know, with that as you're starting your home search, especially if you're coming in from a different state. I have clients coming in from Colorado, and tax rates out there are extremely low compared to Texas. So it's just something you want to consider, and not everybody does. But when you work with the right team, you know, we're going to preface all of that information with you just to make sure that the budget you get for the home that you have in mind is going to fit, you know, your family's needs.
Now, one thing I do want to say is right now we are in a market where, you know, as a buyer, you really have a lot of leverage. So although the median home cost is $295, and you might say, man, that seems kind of low. Like, am I really going to find what I'm looking for at $295? I believe the answer is yes, because we're seeing a lot of homes that are listed at higher price points really just start decreasing their listing price. And so we're starting to see a lot of buyers who are actually getting into homes well under $300,000, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the big selling point of this market, which is going to be marketed differently, you know, because you hear about interest rates being at all-time highs, you know, and the reality is that we're just at average, at the average rate, you know, for the last like 50 years. You know, we're at around like 7% conventional, you know, in the lower 6s for FHA and VA. And the benefit to these inflated rates right now is that you're going to get, like you said, a lower price point for these homes. With rates being high, you're going to see price reductions, you're going to see seller concessions. Once the rates start to come down, potentially next year, if we see like a 0.5% decrease, we're going to statistically see a 5% increase in the price. A whole percent lower of rate is going to give us a 10% increase in price. So the deals we have right now, they're not going to last forever. So definitely want to make sure and we take advantage of these high rates, which sounds kind of funny. You know, you take advantage of a high rate, it doesn't make sense, but you're going to see a lot of savings by buying in this market.
Now, one of the things that I do want to point out is, you know, you can get pretty much anywhere in San Antonio within about 40 minutes. And so the reason why I bring this up is because we do have major bases that are spread across San Antonio. We've got Lackland on one side, we've got Randolph all the way on the northeast side of San Antonio. And so what some active duty members want to do is they want to live really close to the base that they're going to be working at. But by doing that, you might find a neighborhood that has a higher tax rate. And you might find the neighborhood that's on the other side of town with a lower tax rate. You know, that might be several $100s difference in your mortgage right there. And that extra 20 minutes of commute time might be worth it. So as you're looking to relocate here and as we're looking at homes for you, and we're looking to use just your BAH, right? This is only for those who are just only wanting to stick with their BAH. You have no additional income. Well, let's consider looking at neighborhoods all over town to really find that perfect house for you that's gonna have that perfect tax rate, and that's really gonna keep you with the numbers that you wanna be in. All right, Hector, so we answered, I think, the big bulk of what a lot of people are concerned about when they're relocating and wanting to use their BAH, but there are a lot of additional questions that we get, right, from active duty members. Some of these questions are really just questions that first-time home buyers ask, or buyers that are just new to the market that just don't know. But the first question I want to ask you is specifically about BAH. How does BAH affect the buying power of an active duty service member?
Yeah, and that's a good question. So simply put, I mean, your BAH is going to be more income, you know, added on top of your base pay. So the higher the BAH rate, the more you're going to qualify for, and honestly, the more comfortable you're going to be with that upcoming housing payment. So, I mean, simply put, it's just going to be more buying power for our home buyers.
So if there were two active duty service members, say they're spouses or they're married, and one is receiving BAH with dependents, the other one's going to receive BAH without dependents, right? Are they able to combine both BAH to purchase?
Yeah, if there is a household with two separate sets of BAH, yes, we can use both.
Okay, awesome. Question number two, we get this one a lot as well. First time home buyers who have never utilized their VA benefit, they ask this question: how much of their BAH can they use towards a down payment for the home?
Well, the down payment on the VA loan is actually one of the biggest selling points. There's no down payment required.
That's right.
So 0%. Not to say that you can't, because I do have veterans that have some extra funds. They want to put that down payment towards it, you know, to save on that monthly payment. But as far as it being a requirement, that is false. There's no requirement for the VA loan.
So that brings me to a point. So we recently had a buyer who wanted to purchase a home that was just a little bit outside of their price point, but they had a pretty decent nest egg. So what they decided to do is use part of their nest egg as a down payment to really, you know, lower all the costs, and they were able to still get into that home and utilize their VA home loan benefits. So you can use put down money towards a down payment if you want to, but with the VA home loan benefit, you do not have to, which is great.
That's correct.
All right, Hector, the next question that we have is, what is my actual mortgage payment gonna be, right? A lot of people wanna know right up front, what is my mortgage payment gonna be on this house and that house and that house? How do we determine a mortgage payment?
So a mortgage payment, and the acronym is PITI, right? So principal, insurance, you know, taxes and interest. I think I said those out of order, but stays the same. So we're gonna be looking at those 4 different components to come up with your monthly mortgage payment. So going back to a home at $295,000, which is the median here, we're looking at a home price or a home monthly payment of about $2,450. So that's including everything, taxes, insurance, principal, and interest.
Okay, of course this is going to change, right, depending on the home that we look at and things like that. Now, when a buyer is pre-approved, right, and they say this is how much my lender says I can afford, but this is the price of the house, are you able to run numbers for these buyers so they can determine whether or not they even want to put in an offer on a home?
Yeah, definitely, and I advise that to each one of my clients, you know, because it happens very frequently where you may come to us and get approved for $500,000, but that doesn't mean you're gonna buy a house for $500,000. We wanna make sure that every home you see is still within you or your family's budget, right? Because you don't want to purchase just because you can. You know, you wanna make sure that it's aligned with everything you've set up for yourself, you know, not just today, but for future you. You wanna make sure all your finances are in order to support the short-term, but the long-term goals as well.
Right. All right, man, so in San Antonio, we have a lot of incorporated cities within San Antonio, and there's also a couple of different counties around San Antonio that people live in, but they work in San Antonio. So if an active duty service member is PCSing to San Antonio, but they wanna live in a different county or say a different city, what BAH are they gonna receive to use towards their home purchase?
Yeah, that's a really common question. So whenever somebody's PCSing, we're always going to base their BAH off of where they're being stationed to. Okay. Right? So it's essentially based off zip code. So if you're moving to San Antonio, to Houston, or if you're moving to a different state, you know, out of Texas, because we have veterans that are moving out of Texas, it's always going to be based on the destination. You know, where are they going to end up? Because it's going to be different. There's different costs associated with each city and county.
Awesome. All right, man, we're gonna have some service members who are on the fence on how they wanna use their BAH. I remember when I was active duty, there were service members who decided to live on base with their family, you know, get a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house on base somewhere, and they're gonna get their BAH technically, but they're also gonna waste their BAH.
That's the perfect word.
How can an active duty service member, what are the different ways they can use their BAH, and what really is the best way?
Yeah, and I love that question because we can really talk about the benefits of using it correctly. And I say correctly because I really do feel that when you use your BAH, you know, to live on base or to rent a home, it is the easiest option. But when you take the time, you know, if you take 5 minutes out of your day today and reach out to one of us, we can help you figure out how your BAH can actually work for you, right? Because if you're in service for the next 20 years, do that math. You know, $2,000 a month of BAH, times 12, times 20. I can't even do math that big in my head, but that
a lot of money.
Is a huge amount of money.
I mean, I even think about it just on average, you know, you're at a duty station for 2 to 3 years and you're spending $2,000 a month in rent. I mean, essentially you're never getting that money back. Whereas this is money that's being given to you, right?
Exactly.
And you can invest that money in the purchase of a home. Like, it's a no-brainer.
It really is.
Why would you?
It really is.
Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, because you can essentially purchase a home living under your BAH. You know, like we mentioned earlier, I think it was like $260. You know, for our, what was it, E7 or E8?
Yeah.
And we can purchase a home using that BAH, and it's not going to cost you anything out of your base pay. And when you do the math, and we can do the math for you based on your specific area and purchase price, but it's going to compound significantly, and you're going to have a lot of equity, you know, upwards of $500,000 in the next like 10 years compared to living on base or renting, and your wealth is going to be at zero, you know, because it's essentially thrown away, wasted, like you said.
Absolutely.
It's not going into anything, it's not building, it's not appreciating, it's not compounding, it's essentially just being thrown away. So why do that when you can essentially buy a home with your BAH, which is essentially free money, and have something, you know, when you exit the military that you can cash out on and help you and your family.
VA home loan benefit combined with your BAH pay is powerful.
Yes.
Very powerful. Now, you mentioned that you are a mortgage broker.
Yes.
How would somebody get a hold of you if they wanted to run numbers, get a better idea of how to use their BAH, and they have additional questions?
I mean, simply put, call me, text me, 210-722-0122. Reach out to Jonathan as well. I mean, however it's easiest for you. I mean, he'll post our social information so you can find us.
It's right down here.
Wherever you want to, you know, find us. I mean, we're out there to be found. You know, you search my name, you're gonna find me. But yeah, it's as simple as a phone call, a text, you know, email, whatever you prefer. We're here to make it happen.
All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed the video. If you are an active duty service member and you are relocating to San Antonio, we want you to reach out. Again, I am a real estate agent here in San Antonio, and I would love to help you and your family make a smooth move here to San Antonio. We'll catch you guys in the next video.
Talk to you guys soon.